What's up, y'all? We are back canning and preserving food. Okay, so I have a ton of produce that I have to can and do something with. Shout out to my sis Freckle Goddess. She is the manager of Ivanhoe Neighborhood Council Garden, as well as Rosie, a well-known Kansas City herbalist. And they had an event yesterday where a whole bunch of Black farmers came together to bring all of their produce, all of their love and the things that they grow for the community. So the Kansas City Defender put on this event, I believe. So there was a ton of Black gardeners there. So all of this produce, and I'm gonna show a clip. All this as well. Here, all of this produce was grown by, how much better does it get? Okay, so shout out to Ophelia's garden. Let's see what else is in here. Shout out to Pearl Family Farm, KC Black Urban Growers, Young Family Farm, Sakara Farm, Ivanhoe Family Council, Ophelia's Blue Vine Farm, and so many others that came to this event and offered their produce for the community. So my good sis brought me all of this produce, and there is a ton, so I have to preserve it before it goes bad. So we're gonna make salsa with all this. I have a whole bunch of jalapenos. We've got a ton of garlic, tons and tons and tons of tomatoes. Whoa. Tomatoes. We've got onions, peppers, scotch bonnets, so much good stuff. So I figured what better thing to do than make some salsa. So we're gonna start off by washing all of this. Oh, I'm gonna put all the tomatoes in here. This is all our tomatoes. So we have our peppers, all of our peppers together, soaking. And then we have all of our tomatoes soaking. So while those are soaking, I'm going to start cutting up our onions and our garlic. I'm probably not gonna use all of this. I'm gonna save some, especially some garlic, but the good bulk of it we gonna use. These onions are strong. Okay, we have our onion sliced. That tore my eyes up, not even gonna lie. But we're gonna add it to a pot. Add all of our onions to the pot. Now we're on to the garlic. And I'm gonna wear gloves for this garlic because I don't want my hands smelling like garlic for days. So while I'm peeling this garlic, I want to give another shout out to all of these Black farmers in Kansas City who are paving the way and growing our own food as a form of sovereignty. So a lot of these people are coming together because of the Sunfresh that closed down. So fresh produce isn't available to a lot of people in the inner city. So this is really the way, y'all, to come back to our original ways and to start growing our own food, so we don't have to depend on Pootie. But yeah, so we don't have to depend on grocery stores to provide our produce and to provide fruits and vegetables and healthy alternatives for us to live. So when, you know, they take away funding or take away certain grocery stores with fresh produce, we're not just stuck and, you know, unable to eat how we need to. So shout out to all these Black farmers for coming together. Shout out to Kansas City Defender. Shout out to Ivanhoe. Shout out to Brittany, to Rosie for, you know, for taking their time to grow all this food for the city, for people in the city. If you guys don't know, Ivanhoe Neighborhood Council has a harvest day every Tuesday where you can come get free produce, free garden fresh produce that they grow here in Kansas City. So the options are still available. Sometimes you just have to step outside of your comfort zone to make changes. So, okay, our garlic is peeled. Now it's time to chop it up. And back to what I was saying. So it is really up to us to take our power back and to begin growing our own food, depending on ourselves, becoming sovereign once again, returning to the ways of our ancestors who always grew their own food, who preserved their own food and did not depend on a system or people outside of us for our health and well-being and to feed our families. So, and I say Black owned farmers just because that is what everyone understands, but the truth of the matter is we are all indigenous to this land. Black is a color. It's not a nationality or an ethnicity. It is a color. And that's all I'll say about that for now. But yeah, I'm chopping my garlic. And we're gonna add this to the pot. We're gonna go ahead and start cutting these. And I'm adding these to the pot as I'm cutting because it's gonna be a mess. So my pot is overflowing, so I'm gonna have to put it into a bigger pot. Start cutting our peppers. So I'm gonna cut these first, the red and the green, and this one, which these are all mild peppers. Into the pot. So I'm gonna use the banana peppers actually, and I'm only gonna use 1 jalapeno because I don't want it to be too spicy. We have our pot with all our ingredients. We have our indigenous, local, Kansas City grown tomatoes, garlic, red onions, yellow, red, and green pepper, jalapeno, banana peppers. We're gonna add some herbs now. So we have freshly chopped cilantro, thyme, and that's all the herbs I have. So we're gonna add our cilantro. And also, they had a ton of okra. So I froze a whole bunch of it, and of course how to make some okra water. If you know, you know. So I'm gonna pour me a glass of this. If I can get it open. I'm gonna pour me a glass of this. And we're gonna continue. We're gonna add some Celtic salt and some apple cider vinegar. And we're gonna bring this pot to a boil. We're bringing the salsa to a boil. Once it comes to a boil, we're gonna reduce the heat, let it simmer for 10 minutes. And I am going to get my lids out of the boiling water because they were just, what is it called? Sanitizing? I can't think of the name. We're gonna leave the jars in there so they're hot when I'm ready to put the salsa in. Because when you are canning things that are already hot, so the sauce is gonna be hot because it's boiling. You wanna make sure your jars are hot too before you put them in there, or else you can risk cracking the jars. Like if you put hot things into cold glass, you know it's gonna shatter. So we're gonna leave the jars in here, let our salsa simmer, and we'll be back. So it's been simmering, so we're gonna take our jars out of the pot, put them on our cutting board, and now we're ready to transfer. Do we have a little funnel thing? Boom, make sure there is at least a ½ inch at the top for space. And then we're gonna have to clean up this mess before we put our lids on. Well, you can stop right here and just let these cool down and put them in the refrigerator for a couple of weeks for your salsa, but we're canning and preserving here. So moving on to our next step, I'm going to wipe the rims with white vinegar, making sure that we get all of the residue off of it. This is extremely important so that the lids seal properly. Okay, so we're popping our lids on. So we're gonna add these to our hot water bath, which all there is water and just a little bit, like a tablespoon of vinegar. So our jars are ready. I'm gonna pop these into the water bath, and then we're gonna wait till they come to a rolling boil to start our timer. And this is the book I use for canning. I'm trying to see how long it takes for salsa. Are these quarts or pints? Okay, 15 minutes. Remember, the water has to cover the jars by at least 1 inch. I'm gonna taste the leftovers, see what we have going here. Very good. Definitely got a kick to it. The jalapeno do his job. I'm gonna have to write spicy salsa on here. So if you don't want it spicy, only add 1 jalapeno or none. It's not bad, but definitely has a kick. Okay, so they were at rolling boil for 15 minutes. They sat for 5 minutes. Now it's time to remove the jars and let them sit. Want to listen for that popping sound where the lid seals and pops in. So this one popped, but this one hasn't yet. Oh, there we go. That means they are properly sealed, shelf stable salsa. So what's dope about this salsa is, like I was telling y'all, all these ingredients in here are local, grown in Kansas City by our Black indigenous hands. Okay, so this is some Black owned, indigenous owned, soulful salsa that is just grown with love, made with love. It is preservable, channeling our ancestors, honestly, channeling how our ancestors preserved and canned food, grew food for ourselves, and this is all about returning to sovereignty. So shout out to all those Black farmers that I mentioned, and yeah, stay tuned for the next videos of all the other things I'm going to can and how I am preparing for our homestead.